The following review is intended for entertainment purposes and targeted for adult fans of the series.
Little bit of a wobble here, though. After a T-Rex strike knocks... I almost said Rustapa. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Power Rangers Dino Fury episode review. That's right, it's once again time for me to hold this children's show to too high of a standard. In fairness, I only got one comment along those lines on my previous review, and it was really more saying that I'd heard good things about the trio of Netflix episodes and got my hopes too high for episode 9 in particular. Well, that may be true, but I've heard even better things about this episode. So let's hope it can rise to the occasion and be the episode that everyone's saying it is. Let's take a look at the 10th episode of Dino Fury, Phoning Home.
Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel.
Yeah, and make sure you got your notifications set up by hitting that little bell icon.
Right you. What he said was, you can consider checking us out on Patreon or Ko-fi at Orange Ranger Videos.
We start at Area 62, where Mucus is hard at work on a new robotic general, which Void Knight comes out to supervise. They don't care what color it is. What are they? Power Rangers? Just what it can do. The new general is Slyther, a master of illusion and disguise, even demonstrating this by turning into a copy of Void Knight. Mucus declares that they're going to be best friends, and Void Knight tasks Slyther with stealing the Sporix chest. However, let's not bypass the moment without acknowledging the vocal elephant in the room. One of the worst kept secrets about Dino Fury is finally seeing the light of day. Mr. Campbell Cooley himself returns to voice this showy deceiver, another villain added to his impressive repertoire. Cooley is a Twitter friend of mine that I really can't wait to meet at a convention one day, so I'm glad to see him continuing with the franchise. Meanwhile, at Dino Henge, Zato is working on a new transmitter to send another message to his home planet of Rafkon. There's a gag with Solon where she tries to make him a recipe from home that turns out to be dog food, and we also learn in a flashback that dogs on Rafkon apparently also have antennae. Zato gets the transmitter working and sends the message out. However, Slyther is hiding nearby and learns that Zato wants to see someone from home. There is then a Jane and Jayborg scene that at the moment is literally pointless. I'm going to handle this like this once again. Remember that I write these scripts moment by moment as I'm watching the episode, so you get a moment by moment recap of my reactions as the episode is going on. If the plot does circle back and reference this, I will go back and explain it, but at the moment that I was watching it in this episode, this sequence was useless, stupid, and not at all funny.
You lose! Good day, sir!
Much more entertaining is watching the Rangers train. They do this teamless version of capture the flag, all fighting to get a flag at the center of Dino Henge, which Izzy eventually grabs. But then a storm cloud appears, and out teleports a woman with short black and purple hair wearing a very flashy silver coat. She says her name is Arla and she is a knight from the planet Rafkon. Zato excitedly asks her to tell him everything that's happened. Arla demonstrates the mind-reading ability on Izzy and Javi and says that technology has advanced so much on Rafkon that they are now capable of destroying Sporix. However, she'd rather prying ears not hear about it, so Zato teleports everyone down to the base. In the base, Solon is immediately suspicious and surprised about this newcomer, asking a whole bunch of questions. How did Arla get to Earth so fast after the message? Why didn't they detect her ship entering orbit, etc., etc.? Arla says that it's probably because Solon's equipment is so old. And I mean, the equipment does accidentally reveal that Solon is a Levi Weston fan.
That
that was easy.
Arla asks to see the Sporix so she can destroy them, but Solon refuses, steadfastly disbelieving that Rafkon just figured out something that she's been working on for millions of years. Zato is shocked at her unwelcoming and suspicious attitude. Arla seems to take it in stride, just saying that she's kind of worn out from space travel anyway, and the Rangers take her to a bedroom. Not really sure why the base has a bedroom. Again, I really do think it's actually a spaceship. And in that bedroom, it is revealed, though not really all that much of a surprise, that Arla is in fact Slyther. No, Slyther. Okay, seriously, I know Slyther has a male voice, but they're impersonating a female in this episode. Can we at least agree on this one? Contact Void Knight and say that they almost got the Sporix, they just need the Rangers out of the way. Seriously, I think you actually need Solon out of the way. The Rangers seemed all too happy to let you at the Sporix. Void Knight says they'll send an attack that will lure the Rangers away. Void Knight actually leads the attack themselves, just with some henchmen. The Rangers morph, starting with the full sequence this time, which makes a lot more sense, and they do a roll call during the fight. Back at the base, Arla goes for the Sporix, but Solon decides to test her by giving her some of the Rafkon dog food as a delicious snack. Arla struggles to get it down, but still says it's delicious. The jig is now up, so Arla transforms back into Slyther. Solon fights back and teleports the two away, but Slyther zaps her, takes her Dinocom, turns back into Arla, and teleports back. The Rangers finish the fight with Void Knight, who just cryptically decides to leave for some reason. Arla almost gets to the Sporix, but then the Rangers return and she has to put the act back on, saying that Solon just went out for a walk. The Rangers think it's strange that she would leave the base in the middle of a battle, and everyone but Zato goes to look for her while Zato helps Arla with the Sporix. Zato asks about Rafkon, but Arla is evasive about that, saying that they need to focus on the mission and that they need to take the Sporix to her ship to be destroyed. Zato finds that a little suspicious and then sees Solon's datacom sitting on the counter. He opens the Sporix case for Arla, but then grabs her wrist when she reaches inside, using his mind-reading ability to learn the truth. Slyther transforms back and demands the Sporix. Zato grabs Slyther and they teleport out, a move that Slyther cannot seem to stop falling for. A hurt and enraged Zato instamorphs. You see, when the instamorph comes after the full morphing sequence, it flows a lot better, and the two fight one-on-one for a while. Zato then calls the other Rangers, and they eventually show up. But while Slyther may be overwritten and needs some cuts, hey Zato, quit doing my job for me. They are very fast and agile. Little bit of a wobble here though. After a T-Rex strike knocks Slyther back, they decide to grow, but transform into fan favorite Rustafa first. Which, yes, does give me a chance to mention that, yes, Rustafa is apparently based on a cockatrice, a dragon-headed rooster monster. I don't know how most of the US audience was expected to know that, but at least half of the commenters on my last video sure did.
I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it.
This is clearly just burning some unrelated Zord footage. Speaking of the Zords, Zolan is still laying on a riverbank somewhere all zappy, so Zato tries a command override with the password Zato is cool. Coolio, I guess. Dino Fury Megazord Warrior formation, they fight for a bit, and the Rangers then use a key while inside the Megazord, the Slick key, creating a reflective surface that blinds the monster. They actually interrupt the Zord fight for the other half of that stupid, moronic Jane and Jayborg gag. And no, it does not factor into the plot. Yes, they reference that there's a giant monster fight going on nearby, but that's the other way around.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
New finishing move, Dino Mega Blast. Good Zordon. For some reason, Jane and Jayborg have to walk by again, but the good news is that nobody cares. Slyther lands nearby and must have some damage to their memory circuits, developing robot amnesia. Mucus comes to pick them up and, realizing this, claims that the two of them really are best friends. Yay for her, I guess. Time for the apology scene in the base, but this one is a little bit weird. Zato is apologizing for the way he treated Solon, but why? It made sense at the time. This is more of a misunderstanding. What's the lesson of this episode? I guess that Zato should have been a little more careful with the Sporix, but Solon also could have been a little bit nicer while expressing her misgivings, and that part isn't really addressed. Anyway, Zato sends another message out to Rafkon. I'm not really sure why, but I do know that I'm going to balance these scales. Episode 10, Phoning Home. Pros, Campbell Cooley's fantastic return to the show, a decently paced little suspense piece, and some nice Solon focus. Cons, could have held the Arla suspense out a little longer, use of more Rustafa footage feels a little cheap, and Jane and Jayborg at their absolute worst. Much, much better. Some issues remain, but better. Phoning Home gets 3.75 scales out of 5. There are some lingering issues. The pacing was a little bit off. The lesson was a little bit weird. But overall, this was a needed return to form for this show. This is kind of what I was talking about when I said I like the story to go from story beat to story beat. This was a plot that involved the show's story without being an incredibly plot-heavy episode. Just something happening to move that plot a little bit forward. Maybe something else will happen to move the plot forward in Dino Fury's 11th episode, the last one that we currently have on Netflix. Okay, seriously, is this really the title? Alright, McScary Manor. Amelia investigates a haunted house against Pop Pop's wishes. When the ghost puts Amelia in jeopardy, she discovers the reason for her grandfather's overprotective attitude. By the by, speaking of expectations, that's the episode that I've heard the most good things about, so we'll see if these 3 episodes just get better as they go on. That's going to do it for another Power Rangers Dino Fury episode review. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching. Now that the video's done, you can let me know what you thought of this episode, as well as my review of it, down in the comments below. And while you're down there, make sure you smack that thumbs up button to let me know that you enjoyed this video. And if you'd like to support the channel by picking up some nice Orange Ranger merch, such as this shirt, you can head over to teespring.com/OrangeRangerVideos. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. God, I smell good. Cooley is a friend of mine on Twitter that I really cannot wait to meet at a convention. We're doing all that again. Campbell's a Twitter, god dang it. Mr. Campbell Cooley lends his voice to this showy deceiver. How did Arla get to Earth so fast after the message was sent out? Why? The jig's now up, so she transforms back into a dragon-headed piece of a dragon-headed chicken monster. God dang it.